Hello, welcome everyone to the live training on Tuesday. I'm just waiting to see if anybody can log in here. I'm really excited about this class today. What we're going to be talking about is something that is pretty important, and I hear about it over and over again here in this group and also with many women that I talk to on a regular basis. Um, so I'm just going to go ahead and get started. If many of you in this group tend to fall in one of three camps. Either you know for a fact that you want to address your weight loss and your health goals without taking any weight loss medications, or you're currently considering a GLP-1, or you've actually been on one and had to stop, either because it didn't really work for you the way that you were hoping, or the side effects just became way too much. Regardless of where you fall, you're all asking the same question. And that is, why does my body resist fat loss so hard, even when appetite is lower or discipline is higher? So today I want to explain why, and more importantly, what actually has to change for real fat loss to happen over 40. Not weight loss, fat loss. So let's start with two hormones that quietly run the show. I've mentioned them before, and if you've watched any of the trainings, this might be a little bit of a reminder. The first one is leptin. Leptin is the full hormone. It tells your brain how much stored energy you have and whether to keep eating for more energy or to stop. It's also one that tells the brain that it's safe to burn fat. Adiponectin is the second one, and that is the secret agent fat burning hormone that determines how efficiently your body can access and use the stored fat on your body for energy. So, in a healthy system, leptin signals are heard and responded to by the brain and by the body. Adiponectin is available. They're working together to make fat loss happen without a bunch of struggle. And here's why GLP-1s feel so incredibly compelling. They increase leptin signaling and block the ghrelin, the hunger hormone. So appetite just naturally drops, food noise quiets, and for many women, the scales finally start to move. But appetite suppression alone does not restore fat burning physiology. This is what we're going to get into today. After 40, several things happen simultaneously. Give me just a second. Okay. Uh, Several things happen simultaneously. Estrogen declines, cortisol becomes more reactive, muscle's easier to lose, and insulin sensitivity gets worse. In this whole scenario, it creates a perfect storm. Your leptin levels rise, telling the body, we have enough resources, we're cool, you don't need to eat anymore. But the brain ends up becoming resistant, causing what's called leptin resistance. At the same time, adiponectin, the fat burning hormone, drops, especially with increased stress, with under eating, over fasting, and inactivity. So when GLP-1s amplify leptin signaling, the downstream environment still matters. If the body perceives nutrient scarcity or muscle loss, chronic stress, and erratic, unreliable eating rhythms, it will still prioritize protecting fat, even with suppressed hunger. And this is why so many women lose weight on GLP-1s, but also lose muscle, bone density, their hair, their energy goes down the toilet, and their metabolic capacity just completely downregulates. So, one of the biggest myths around GLP-1 medications is that the side effects are just kind of the price you have to pay. Nausea, constipation, exhaustion, hair loss, muscle loss. Those are not inevitable consequences of the medication itself. They're signals of a body that's undersupported while appetite is being suppressed. So GLP-1s intentionally increase leptin signaling, block ghrelin, the hunger signal, and slow gastric emptying. That whole combination lowers your appetite, but it does not lower your body's nutritional needs. So when intake drops without strategic compensation, the body pulls in acids from the muscle, breaking down your muscle tissue. It's called catabolizing your muscle tissue. It conserves fat as a survival mechanism. It slows your metabolism and it increases and boosts stress signaling, aka cortisol. So, side effects happen when the medication works, but the foundation is missing. When nutrient movement and rhythm are intentionally structured, most of these side effects can be completely, dramatically reduced, and in many cases, completely taken care of altogether. So, this is the pivot most women never get taught. GLP-1s are excellent at producing weight loss. They're not designed to ensure fat loss. So, weight loss can come from lots of different places in the body. Water retention from your muscles, like we just talked about. Bone density starts to decrease. Glycogen stores start to decrease. Organ tissue starts to break down. So, fat loss requires a completely different internal environment. When your focus stays on the scale, rapid loss looks like success, right? Muscle loss, you don't even notice because you're just so focused on the number going down. And your metabolism quietly in the background just downshifts. When your focus shifts to fat loss, however, protein becomes non negotiable, strength becomes protective, eating becomes strategic, and recovery becomes like one of the most essential parts of the process. Fat loss could be slower, but it's the kind that lasts and it's the kind that matters. And this matters even more after 40, when muscle's the primary driver of metabolic health, insulin sensitivity, and long-term weight stability. So, how does this connect back to the adiponectin leptin ratio? Well, when the body senses adequate nutrition, muscle preservation, predictable eating and rhythms, lower stress levels, then adiponectin rises, burning more fat. Leptin signals improve. And then your fat becomes accessible again to burn for your energy to feed you throughout the day with these high levels of energy and make you feel like $1,000,000. When those signals are missing, even with appetite suppressed, the body stays in defensive mode. So this is why some women lose a bunch of weight rapidly and then all of a sudden stall. Some feel completely terrible either on meds or intermittent fasting, and we're going to talk about that in just a second. And also, if they stop the medication, the weight just comes back 3 times faster. Obviously, it's not their fault. This is biology, it's physiology, it's your body wanting to keep you safe. So, in terms of a GLP-1, if it's something that you're considering, if it's something that you're on, if it's something that you've tried and it didn't work for you, the reframe that I want you to leave with is that GLP-1s don't have to come along with a bunch of those terrible side effects, but they do require a different level of strategy. And most of this is getting completely missed in the GLP-1 world. So if your goal is simply a lower number, the scale may move at any cost. But if your goal is fat loss, strength, energy, and a body that still works for years from now and feels incredible all the while, then your foundation matters. And that's the work that we're doing here and that we're doing in my Radiant Body program. So let's say you're not on a weight loss medication and you don't actually want to be. You know that you can do this outside of a weight loss med. You don't want to bring that on board. But let's say you've been trying things like intermittent fasting. And this whole scenario is also where intermittent fasting fits in. So turns out, after years of intermittent fasting being all the rage for weight loss for everyone, but particularly for women in menopause, the science has finally actually caught up and is showing that for us, intermittent fasting can be temporarily helpful and temporarily improve leptin sensitivity, lower insulin levels, and sometimes get the number on the scale to move. But it often works at first, right? But over time, especially in midlife, we see that it ends up deepening this perception of famine from the body, the famine state, which lowers the metabolic rate, further suppresses the fat burning hormone of adiponectin, and increases cortisol reactivity. So the body adapts by becoming more efficient at holding fat. So you may lose weight initially, then stall, then feel exhausted, cold all the time, flat, apathetic, and also potentially inflamed. And this is why so many women find that they have to just continue to fast longer and longer and longer in order to maintain their weight loss. And again, it's weight loss, not fat loss. So either way, I'm hoping that you can see the theme here, whether you're on an appetite suppressant or on a calorie deficit diet or doing intermittent fasting, the same result happens. But there's good news, right? Because now is the part that actually we get to that actually changes your outcomes, how we fix it. The adiponectin leptin ratio is changeable, thankfully, but only with specific and strategic signals, not vague eat better or eat cleaner ideas, not harder workouts or longer workouts, not longer fasts. So I'm going to break down the three things that you need to be doing immediately in order to save your muscle tissue, save your metabolism while you're losing fat. But these three things, without these three things, you can almost guarantee that whatever strategy you're using, GLP-1s, fasting, calorie deficits, you will inevitably stall in your weight loss, you will lose muscle, and your metabolism will tank, almost guaranteeing that the moment you stop doing you stop doing it, your body will just race to put the fat back on as fast as it can. And quite honestly, I'm sure all of you have experienced that already. By the time we hit midlife, we are nearly experts at the yo-yo dieting effect. And this is part of that. And these three things are going to help you mitigate that so you don't have to deal with that anymore. And again, this is plainly physiology, not anything to do with your willpower, your lack of dedication, your lack of strength, how bad you want it, how smart you are, how strong you are. It's just physiology. So the first thing that you need to be doing is fueling strategically, not eating less food, but eating strategic food. Your body cannot switch into fat burning mode if it doesn't trust that specific nutrition is available. So that means sufficient protein to protect your muscle and signal safety. Micronutrient density so leptin signals can be received. Stable blood sugar so cortisol stays in check. This is essential on GLP-1s where appetite is suppressed, but nutrient needs remain unchanged. So without this, leptin signaling increases, but fat access does not. Okay, the second thing that you need is strategic movement. You need to start prioritizing efficiency over volume. Fat loss over 40 requires muscle preservation, not a calorie burn. And I know this is going to be really hard for some of us to start to understand and really get in our mind because we've been conditioned for decades to think calories in, calories out. And if we want to burn more fat, we have to work out more. We have to work out more days. We have to work out longer. We have to spend more time doing cardio. So this is going to be one of the most challenging things for you to rewire in your brain. And it's one of the things in my program that I work with my clients one-on-one to absolutely shift our mindset. We focus on prioritizing efficiency over volume. So how do we do that? We use targeted strength work. It could look like different things: sprint interval training, actual strength training, lifting weights, doing short, high intensity interval training workouts. But every single one of those things can be adapted to your current level of fitness. So if I say something like sprint interval training, don't let it make you think, oh, I can't do that. I'm not ready for that. Sprint interval training is for any ability level, and you just have to adapt it to match where you're at. So this is one of the coolest things that we do in my program is I work with my clients to figure out where that place is. Where can they start with their interval training, with their strength training, and not hurt themselves, not feel exhausted all the time, not be sore all the time, and immediately start to see results in their bodies and in their muscle tone. So we use short, targeted strength work. We include movement on a daily basis that improves insulin sensitivity, but minimizes the stress load, minimizes cortisol. Too much cardio, especially on a regular basis, only increases your cortisol and will end up working against you and the whole goal of fat loss. Remember that cortisol tells the body to store fat, especially in the belly. So, those of you that are thinking that you need to get your 5 miles in 4 days a week, or you are running on the treadmill every single day, really trying to push it, this might be an area where you get to reframe your thinking here because that kind of cardio workout only increases cortisol, increases the stress in your body, and will work against your goals. We focus on recovery that resets those stress signals. Most women are just trying to do too much and they're not resting and they're not recovering. They don't have the nutrition in order to recover. They don't take the time off in order to recover. They don't pamper themselves at all or enough in order to recover. Working out too many days in a row, even feeling guilty when they miss a workout. I don't know if anybody can relate to that. But recovery becomes one of the most important aspects of exercise and movement. So you have got to be sure that you're eating the right nutrients and resting right. Eating right, moving right, resting right. Not doing 2 hour workouts, not doing daily high intensity cardio for a long time, not using exercise as punishment. Movement must support the hormonal environment and not drain it. Okay, the third thing, the last thing that you need to be doing is strategic rhythm. We're reducing stress through predictability. Your nervous system reads irregular eating as stress. We restore rhythm through predictable meal timing, through gentle eating windows that don't signal deprivation, that don't increase cortisol. We use evening cutoffs that support your sleep processes, your circadian rhythm, and support your microbiome recovery. This rhythm works with your circadian rhythm and the natural processes in the body to lower cortisol, which directly improves adiponectin levels, the fat burning hormone goes up, and leptin communication. When these three signals are consistent, the body stops gripping fat. And not because you're forcing it to, but because it finally feels safe enough to let it go. And this is one of the most powerful things that I get to experience in my group of women when they come to the call and they feel like their fat loss has been easier than they ever even thought possible. They don't even feel like they're trying because they're so used to trying to force their body into losing weight when instead all they need to do is set their bodies up in order to allow it to let go. Very different. So I want to end this class by speaking directly to where many of you actually are. Probably tired, not just physically, but mentally. Tired of doing everything right. Tired of second guessing every decision. Tired of wondering whether your body is just broken, whether you waited too long, it's too late, you're too far gone, or whether this is just how it is now. Some of you feel relieved that the scale has finally moved a little bit. Some of you might feel scared about what it has cost you or what it will cost you. And some of you are standing at the edge, trying to decide whether medication is the only option left for you. What I want you to come away from this call with is this. Your body's never failing you. It's only asking you for a different strategy. Weight loss over 40, regardless of your tactics, stops working when we try to force it. Fat loss begins when the body finally feels safe enough to cooperate. And I know how badly you want this resolved, or you wouldn't be part of this group. Not temporarily, not cosmetically, but in a way that actually lasts. So you can stop thinking about food all day, so you can trust your body again, so you can trust your hunger cues again, so you can move forward without the fear of regaining all the weight back 5 times faster than you lost it, or losing pieces of health along the way. What I can tell you is that you don't need more willpower. You need the right signal inputs, the right order for your physiology. That's it. It's really quite simple once you have the pieces in place. So if you're ready to stop guessing and start doing this right away, whether you're on a GLP-1, considering one, or trying to recover from a frustrating experience, or just trying to do this without weight loss medication, either way, any of those ways, I want to help you map out your next step.